There is a saying that goes, read my lips, because the mouth is the part of the face which is best at conveying nonverbal communication, shortly followed by the eyes. There can be as much variety in the shapes of the mouth as there is in the range of emotions the mouth can express. Despite this variety, there are several commonalities that we will look at in the construction of the mouth. The upper lip is generally shaped like an elongated M or the wings of a bird in flight. The lower lip is almost always thicker than the upper lip and more curved in shape. The upper lip sticks out and casts a shadow onto the lower lip. Where the skin of the lip meets the skin of the face is called the Vermilion Border. In some people, there is a noticeable change in the color and texture of the skin of the lips compared to the face, making this division visually distinct. In others, it is not visual at all, especially in men. Try to avoid using heavy outlines around the mouth, since it will look like your subject is wearing dark lip liner. Instead, lightly pencil in these areas and simply rely on the change of value in the shadows to show where this border can be seen. Remember, if you don't see it, don't draw it. Where the upper lip and the lower lip meet is called the Lateral Commissure. This area forms a point of deep shadow, both to the outside of where the lips meet and inside where the corners of the lips and the teeth when the mouth is smiling. Above the lip and below the nose is the fold of skin called the Philtrum, which creates beautiful shadows in the middle of the two vertical ridges. Where the Philtrum meets the mouth is the V-shaped area we call the Cupid's bow. Some people have a more pronounced Philtrum and Cupid's bow, while in others this shape is much more subtle. The part of the face located between the side of the nose and the lateral commissure of the mouth is the nasolabial crease. Unless the person you are drawing has deep wrinkles, avoid the temptation to outline this area. Instead, use a dirty blending stump to subtly add in these shadows. Let's take a look at the teeth when people are smiling. Like the Vermilion Border, you really want to avoid outlining the teeth whenever possible. Heavy outlines make the teeth look dirty and ruin the effect of a smile. The front middle teeth are called the Lateral Incisors. These teeth are the widest and the largest in the mouth, sometimes half again as wide as the other teeth. The lateral incisors are located next to the central incisors. The bottom of both incisor teeth is squared with rounded edges. The tops of these teeth are generally more rounded where the teeth are covered up by the gums. Next in line are the canine teeth. Unlike the other teeth in the mouth, these teeth are more pointed. Next to the canines are the bicuspids. The bicuspids don't show very much in a smile. So if you do see them, they are more shadowed because they're so far back in the mouth. Take a close look at the bottom of all the teeth in this smile. See how the bottom of each tooth appears higher than the one before it? This is because the jaw is curved back towards the ears, causing us to see the tops and bottoms of the teeth lined up along this curve. Let's take a look at how to draw and shade the mouth. Here I have the mouth that we were referencing earlier, and I have a very light outline that I've sketched in. So I'm going to be using my 2B pencil to start shading. I'm going to start with the lateral commissure, which is the area where the upper and lower lips meet. And I'm going to very lightly define the top of the upper lip, making sure that I have that Cupid's bow, which looks sort of like a flattened M or the wings of a bird in flight. And very carefully and gently kind of sketch in where that lower lip is going to be. Because the lower lip usually doesn't have a very heavy outline around it, we don't want to put an outline there when there really isn't too much of one. Otherwise it'll look like our person is wearing lip liner. Now we're going to define the top of the upper lip or lower lip by sketching in where the teeth are. The central incisors are going to be defined by this rounded edged box shape. And remember that these are wider than the other teeth. Then the next teeth over. Remember the bottom of the next teeth over, the lateral incisors, is higher than the central incisors. Then the canine, which is going to have a pointed shape at the bottom, and we see just a little bit of those bicuspids in the back. And notice I haven't extended that line all the way to the top of the bottom of the upper lip yet. Lateral incisor, canine, just a hint of the bicuspid. Now I'm going to very lightly sketch in the top of the bottom lip there, and notice again that There is not an outline around these teeth. I've just done the bottom of the teeth, just a little bit. So now we're about ready to start shading. I do a lot of shading with the blending stump. So I'm going to switch to my 5B, which is my soft pencil. I'm going to create a pool. You would do this on a separate sheet of paper. And I'm going to dirty my blending stump, roll it around in that pool, brush it off to make sure there's not a whole lot of chunks, and I'm going to draw straight on my drawing with my blending stump. What this does is it stops me from going too dark and creating harsh lines. So not only am I shading the lip, but I'm bringing that value out here for the basic skin tone. Reapplying my pencil to the dirty blending stump. And then moving outside of that vermilion border of the lip to shade in the skin tone. You don't want to leave that paper white because it's going to be too much of a contrast and it's going to make it look like your person is wearing lipstick when they're not. So I'm just rolling the blending stump in my pencil and giving myself a nice light to medium skin tone. That looks pretty good. I'm going to flip this over, pick up a little bit more, and I'm going to start defining the upper lip with the blending stump. Now I can still see an outline there, and I do want to accentuate the vermilion border and the shadows here more than what I have. So I'm going to switch to my 2B pencil. I'm going to start shading that in. I want this, actually let's switch to the 5B because this is going to be as dark as we're going to have it anywhere else in the mouth. So this is going to be our darkest area, is right up against the teeth and right in the corner. Nice and dark. I'm going to make sure that the corner of the mouth is curved. I don't want it to look like a point. See how it has this nice rounded curve? Now to fade this out, I lighten the pressure. Tiny tornadoes, little itty bitty circles overlapping, bringing it down, bringing it down. Now the vermilion border of the lower lip here is nice and dark, so I'm gonna bring it down this way a little bit, but notice it's very light here, so I'm gonna stop, switch to the other side. Again, for that lateral commissure, that nice deep pocket of shadow here, it's nicely rounded. It's a little skinnier, lighter as it comes down here. Accentuate that vermilion border. And I'm just barely letting the pencil touch. And then we're gonna get really dark on the underside of the teeth. I'm holding the pencil more upright so I can get some more pressure. And then fading that out. I have a little bit of a dark space in between, not too much, just a little bit. And I'm going to take the pencil and I'm going to pull in towards the center of the upper lip, just brushing it over there. So you can see that we have darker areas here near the lateral commissure. We've got some shadows coming down in here into that vermilion border of the lower lip. So now we're going to start blending. And make sure my blending stump is clean and sharp by going over my sandpaper. You can also sharpen your blending stump using an X-Acto knife. And if you get these little fluffy bits, just wipe that off the end. Oh no, lost our picture. Again, I'm using that tiny tornado motion, itty bitty circles, softening, pulling, blending. And this shadow tucks down just a little bit and up. And this shadow starts to become that flap of skin that is in between the nose and the mouth here, that nasolabial crease. I'm gonna pull that shadow in this way. You see how instantly that mouth is starting to sink back. And now as I play around with the shadows, I start fading those shadows out. Come back here. No, pencil. Trying to escape. That's okay, I caught it. So as you start blending those shadows out, they'll start to disappear. That's okay, just put them back in. Softening that edge. That looks good. Let's go over here. Pulling in towards the upper lip, down into the lower lip. I want to leave that middle just lighter than anywhere else. And here, I'm going to pull this up into the teeth. Now, notice that really big gap. That's too big and it's too dark. I want to fade that back out, so I'm going to switch over to my pencil eraser, not pencil eraser, stick eraser. Lighten that up a little bit that way. And just take the kneaded eraser, point it just a little bit, just kind of tap. It just fades that in a little bit. We want to see that area, but we don't want it to be really, really obvious. Now, all of these teeth are white. We need to put in the gum line. You notice how there's a gum line here on the top of the teeth. So I'm going to switch to my 4H, which is my lightest pencil. And I want those points to show up in between the teeth. There's almost like a V. Just a little bit of a V. And depending on the person's smile, you may see actual arcs over top of the teeth. But here it's subtle. I'm just gonna brush over that. And my goal is to have it come close to meeting that bottom mark, but not touching. If you outline the teeth, it'll look like you have a face full of chiclets. It really does. It looks very silly. So try avoiding at all costs outlining the teeth if you can. And we'll continue shading in this nice area of the nasolabial crease. Switching back over to here, there's a nice dark shadow. It makes this beautiful curved shape. I want that to show up. So I'm taking my 5B and I'm putting that in. Now before we're done, I'm going to actually shade the teeth. Yes, you heard me. We're going to shade the teeth. Kind of like the whites of the eyes. Even though you know they're white, some of them are going to have value to them, especially these bicuspids back here. These bicuspids, we're going to take the dirty blending stump, blend over those, fade them in, because you really don't see much of them, and they're dark. There we go. Fade those in. And then I'm just gonna brush over those canines just a tad. Oh, I lost this canine. That was the canine I was doing, not the bicuspid. This is the bicuspid. That's okay. I'll pull it back out. There we go. So we have a little bit of a bicuspid on either side that's shaded barely there. We have our canines and our central and lateral incisors shaded in. There's one little pencil line here that I don't like. Pull that in. It's making my tooth look like it's too outlined. I'll fade that out. Looks pretty good. Now I want to accentuate the upper lip just a little bit more than what I have it. I'm going to refresh my pool. And I want to accentuate this Cupid's bow and the Philtrum, which is that crease between the upper lip and the nose. Nice definition to the Philtrum here. So the Philtrum will have this lighter section right here in the middle. And her Cupid's bow's got this beautiful little floating shape. I love it. There we go. So, how to draw and shade the mouth.